Kyrsten Sinema is leaving the Democratic Party, and that's upsetting the apple cart for Democrats in the Senate. Actually, this is not what's going on. I know that's the media narrative, but we'll explain why. Hi, Chris Graham here, Augusta Free Press. Reason number one, this isn't going to change really anything in D.C., is that Kyrsten Sinema is still going to caucus with Democrats. Now, it's a little bit of inside baseball to say caucus with Democrats and explain to non-politicos like me what that means. But the way our two-party system works, whether you like it or not, it's the way it works. The House and the Senate basically have two sides, the Democrat side and the Republican side, majority side and minority side, really, for purposes of organizing those bodies in terms of electing, House Speaker or Majority Leader, and then appointing committees and people to committees, right? Okay, so individual members line up with one or the other. That's just the way it goes. If you want a committee assignment, you're a member of one or the other caucus. In the case of Sinema, then, she has to caucus with one side or the other. She's already made it clear she's going to change, not going to change who she caucuses with. She didn't say it directly, but she's going to caucus with Democrats. In fact, the quote she told Politico today, I don't anticipate that anything will change about the Senate structure. So she's going to caucus with Democrats. That's just, so nothing's going to change there. It's still 51-49 Democrats. If you're a Republican watching this, don't get too excited. Basically, if you're a Democrat, don't get too fearful that, the 51-49 is going to go away. In fact, she's not the only independent who caucuses. It will be the only independent who caucuses with Democrats. Angus King from Maine and Bernie Sanders, who's run for president twice as a Democrat, is an independent, which is interesting about that too. So reason number one, she's still going to caucus with Democrats. Reason number two, what she did today, or what she announced today, as she's obviously had this in the works for a while, it's all about her 2024 reelection campaign. She was elected to the Senate in 2018 as a Democrat. Now, she began her political career as a progressive member of the Green Party, which itself is pretty far to the left, right, of the mainstream. Then she went mainstream and ran for the U.S. House as a Democrat, won. And then by the time 2018 rolls around, in her time in the House, she moderated. She became a blue dog Democrats or centrist Democrats. And then she used that to buttress her run for the U.S. Senate from Arizona in 2018. Now, by the time she'd won in 2018, I know this is the case that at least for a long time, there'd never been a Democrat, had not been a Democrat elected to to a statewide office from Arizona. But she won John McCain's seat. Arizona, when she was running in 2018, was not the state that in 2020 then went for Joe Biden. And then this year, you saw the Senate and the governor's races there both go Democrat. This was still a Republican monolith in 2018. And she was able to flip at least that seat there from red to blue, which was huge news. And she didn't do it by running as a progressive. If you're running in a state that's Republican, ruby red Republican, and you run as a progressive, you lose bad. And so she won. Credit to her. Now, she's continued to be a centrist, a blue dog in the Senate. And that's rankled a lot of people on the Democratic side, especially progressives. And she's got, looks like she's going to have, or was going to have, I should say now, a challenge from within the party, within the state. Arizona Congressman Ruben Gallego, a progressive Democrat, was going to challenge her from within in 2024. At least there's been talk about that. So this move to go from Democrat to independent is not about, I'm not a Democrat anymore. It's all about strategy. What goes on here now is it's a preemptive strike, basically, at Gallego or whoever else on the Democratic side who wants to run at her from the left to challenge her for the party nomination. In a way, the reason you got to do that is centrist candidates on either side, Republican or Democrat, have a hard time winning primaries because the primary electorates tend to be more of the party regulars, if you want to say. On the Democratic side, the more progressives, the more liberal. And on the Republican side, the more conservative. And so you tend not to get the participation in primaries from those, center right and inside of that, and center left and inside of that, right? So, and as a result, makes it hard for you to win those nominations, even though you might be a better candidate in November, the general election. So with Sinema now as an independent, Democrats have to rethink 2024 regarding her seat. Does Gallego decide to, still challenge for that nomination? I mean, now that the nomination's open, she's an independent, and it would be a wide open nomination race. At least, at least you would think a sitting congressman would be one of the favorites, if not the favorite. But if you win the nomination, then you're running against an independent who's a Democrat, and then probably, certainly a Republican, and then that runs the risk of giving that seat back to the Republicans. So there may be some pressure now from the national party to someone like Ruben Gallego to say, we want to hold that seat, even though she's not technically a Democrat. We want to hold that seat. So let's hold off from you running, anyone else on that side running, getting that nomination, and then giving the seat back to the Republicans. It's actually a brilliant political move on the part of Kyrsten Sinema to make it so that she's basically telling Democrats, this is the way I'm going to win this seat again. And if you want to give it back to Republicans, then go ahead and do so. And in this 51-49 environment, that's awfully risky on the part of Democrats. So, I don't think this, and in fact, I'm sure this doesn't change anything for the next 2 years at the Senate level. It maybe gives her a little bit more power, but I'm not so sure about that either. But she's going to caucus with Democrats. She's going to run for re-election, and that's what this is all about. Hey, if you want to get more politics news and more sports news, anything else from us here at Augusta Free Press, go to AugustaFreePress.com. If you have any questions, any columns you'd like me to look at, or any stories you want me to look at, anything like that, email me at chris@AugustaFreePress.com.